I'm in my zone.
Hey, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and I'm bringing you guys a review for Final Fantasy Theatrhythm, which I've had a chance to put 15 hours into so far, and this is pretty much reason number 2 that I decided to get a Nintendo 3DS XL a couple weeks ago. This is a game that I had been wanting to play since it first released in the middle of last year, and I could spend this entire review just describing how great the songs are that were pulled from each title, which they're nothing short of epic, or I could spend it discussing how nostalgic it is to play a Final Fantasy anniversary game reflecting on the last 25 years of its gaming history, but I think this review will be much better served explaining what you do in this game and how everything works. To start off with, there's 3 main modes to choose from: Series, which features all 3 types of stages rolled into one event; Challenge mode, which allows you to pick one specific stage to play; and finally the most interesting out of the group, which is the Chaos Shrine, which pairs up 2 random songs played back to back in hopes of getting boss drops and crystals that allow you to unlock more characters. And as a side note, this mode can be played in single player or cooperative multiplayer with up to 3 friends. And there's 3 different types of stages found in this game: Field Sequences, which has your party leaders start the stage off walking across the backdrop of that specific game. If you do poorly, your party leader trips and falls and brings out the next member of your group, and once you reach a certain point of the stage, you call out a chocobo, increasing your character's speed and changing the sound of the notes when hit, and you can also equip certain items to call specific chocobos. Event Sequences, which is the next mode, it features a backdrop of the more memorable moments and cutscenes from each game. It's the least interesting out of the 3 modes and also the easiest. If you do well while playing this mode, you can activate extended versions of the song, allowing you to get a higher score. Finally, the Battle Sequence mode, which is very fast-paced, very up-tempo. It's the hardest out of the 3, and it has you throwing down against bosses and well-known enemies from the franchise. There's a row for every character in your party, which is key because your attacks are all based off which row the trigger is scrolling down. While the other 2 modes are more laid back and casual, this is where things get really interesting and where your party setups really come into play. IGN did a decent review for this title back when it first released, with the exception of one thing. She briefly mentioned how the RPG elements don't add as much as they could to the experience, which I would have to strongly and highly disagree with. When it comes to the battle and field sequence, the gameplay shapes itself based off of what characters that you decide to level up and put in your party, what level they are, the abilities that you equip them with, and the one item that you get to select to alter the stage in some way. Just like a transformer, there is more than meets the eye with this game. You're not just playing a tapping version of Rock Band Final Fantasy on the 3DS. The stronger and better equipped your characters are, the higher your chance of tearing through multiple bosses in one battle sequence or obtaining a new special or rare item. And most importantly, the better your chance of actually clearing a really tough event. For example, if a certain stage is just too hard for you to clear on your own, then you can adjust accordingly by using potions that restore your health, or putting party members in your group that have a really high HP stat so that you can miss more triggers. Every character featured in this game is designed for a special purpose, such as having a thief in your party to up your chances of stealing special items, a high agility character with a dash ability to help run across the field sequences, or characters built for high damage for the boss battles. You can build a party decked out with magic, which activates after hitting a certain amount of triggers, or you can beef up with high strength members and do more damage per individual hit, or in my case, a combination of both. You can also create hybrid builds of your favorite character, as the game allows you to learn new abilities by using special items that will grant your character a new skill that they otherwise may have never learned, such as giving someone the cure spell or a stat booster. This is what keeps me glued to this game, not the music or the tapping, but the fact that I want to make a powerhouse group of characters that can just shred down anything that gets in my way on the boss levels. Even though it's not a traditional Final Fantasy role-playing adventure, it's got the same feel to it in that regard. The roster lineup that you build your party with at the start of the game pulls one major character from each title with at least 16 hidden characters to unlock, if not more. And they are not easy to unlock. I've spent 15 hours on the game so far and I haven't unlocked any of them yet. Even though I've done pretty well in a lot of the stages, it just hasn't happened. Now, one interesting thing that seems to help is if you strip all your gear off and remove your item, you get a 2 million point bonus for clearing certain modes, which greatly increases your overall final ranking, which in turn is helping level up the characters faster and thus allowing me to dive deeper in the Chaos Shrine and Ultimate modes with a higher level party. And you can tell a huge difference going into the boss stages with a low level party versus a high level one. Difficulty wise, the game does really well with easing you into the swing of things. The basic mode I'm pretty sure most gamers could master. The medium difficulty is a challenge in some stages, but the ultimate mode is just that, one tough cookie to crack. You're going to need your A game and some skill to get through some of those stages. There's quite a few that I simply just cannot beat because I'm going to need a much stronger group to get through them. As far as the 3D aspect, the field sequences look really nice in 3D, the menus look awesome, but the rest is kind of hit and miss. I mostly play with the 3D off. As far as the touch sensitivity of using the stylus on here, it's spot on, and I'll have to admit it might be the best touchscreen game that I've played to date by a long shot. Most games I buy these days are because I want to review them on my channel for you guys, but this game's an exception. I'm of course doing this review for it, but I wanted to play this one pretty bad since I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and it did not disappoint. This is one title that I'll be playing long after this review gets posted. It's my go-to game on the 3DS when the lights go out and I'm ready to just sit down and chill for a little while. It's not that great for extended periods of play, but it's also hard to turn off once you get going because you're constantly getting new things to tinker around with. As far as a recommendation, I think you'll need to be a Final Fantasy fan to enjoy playing this after the initial newness wears off, and I say this because once you've played through the basic course once, which will take up a good bit of time, the only thing really driving you forward after that will be the challenge of tackling the harder songs and unlocking new characters, abilities, items, and expanding your stat and card collection. And if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, I'm not sure most people would have the drive to do that if they didn't really love the franchise and the music found inside them. But for me personally, this could go down as my all-time favorite handheld released game. Anyways, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and thanks for stopping by.